Okay, let's set the scene. Imagine ancient Egypt with its monumental pyramids, the Sphinx, and endless deserts. It's here that our guy Osiris ruled as pharaoh, and he was kind of a big deal. He taught the people to ditch their cannibalistic ways, introduced them to farming, and brought laws and culture. Basically, he was the poster boy for civilization. But here's where the plot thickens. Seth, Osiris's brother, was the god of chaos and deserts. He had a serious jealousy problem. While Osiris was down in Egypt getting all the love, Seth was up in the heavens, brooding and being all kinds of resentful. I mean, who wouldn't be? His brother's down there being Mr. Popular, and Seth's got nothing but sandstorms and chaos. Total bummer. Seth's envy reached a boiling point. He went full-on villain, devising the most backstabbing plan to get rid of Osiris. He built a beautiful, shiny sarcophagus and threw the most talked-about party of the gods. The wine was flowing, the music was popping, and then Seth announced a fun game. Hey, ever played musical coffins? Everyone was puzzled but intrigued. Osiris, oblivious to the treachery, thanked his brother and climbed into the box. That was the last breath he took as Seth's henchmen sealed it shut, casting it into the Nile. As the sarcophagus disappeared beneath the waves, carried off by the currents, the last echoes of laughter from Seth's conspiracy faded into the night. The silver moon bore silent witness above, its light glinting off the dark, swirling waters that entombed the king of Egypt. Yet the story didn't end there, for the bonds of love and loyalty are not so easily severed. Even as the sarcophagus journeyed to a land far beyond Egypt's sands, a force, potent and indomitable, stirred back in the palace. The goddess Isis, wife and consort of Osiris, felt the sharp sting of premonition pierce her heart. Her world fragmented, yes, but her resolve solidified like the stones of the pyramids. As dawn painted the skies of Egypt with hues of red, forewarning and remembrance, Isis set out on a desperate quest, one that would see her traverse deserts, skies, and foreign lands. All for the heart that beat in unison with hers, now silent and lost amidst the waves. Unknown to her, the currents of destiny were flowing strong, leading her towards a path of ancient magic, resurrection, and a love that defies death itself. The saga of her journey, fraught with divine intervention and royal intrigue, was yet to unfold. There, on the banks of the Nile, as she transformed into a hawk, her eyes, sharp and determined, mirrored the first light of the sun. With a resolute cry that shattered the morning silence, she took flight, her wings cutting through the grief-stricken air. Isis's wings beat against the wind, creating a rhythm that resonated with the aching in her heart. She soared over endless sands and meandering rivers, her divine senses attuned to the remnants of Osiris's presence in the world. Every whisper of the wind, every ripple on the Nile carried mournful secrets, guiding her, pulling her towards her beloved. The days bled into nights, and stars became her silent companions, sharing their ancient wisdom with the determined goddess. It was the murmurs of the moonlit ocean that finally led her to the distant shores of Byblos, where, entangled in the roots of a miraculous tamarisk tree, lay the sarcophagus of Osiris, a prisoner within a pillar of exquisite wood and resin. Incognito, her divine essence veiled beneath the guise of an ordinary woman, Isis ingratiated herself into the service of the royal household of Byblos. Each day she toiled with a single purpose, biding her time, waiting for an opportunity to reclaim what was rightfully hers. The chance presented itself in an unexpected form: the queen's newborn son. Isis, taking the role of the child's nursemaid, revealed a fraction of her divine nature by bestowing blessings upon the babe, astonishing the royal family. In gratitude and growing trust, they awarded her a boon. Seizing the moment, Isis requested the magnificent pillar that the king had integrated into his palace structure, the very same that imprisoned her husband's remains. Unbeknownst to the royal family, the night of the pillar's extraction was marked with sacred magic and silent prayers. In the secrecy of her chamber, Isis laid her hands on the sarcophagus, her fingers trembling as she whispered spells known only to the divine. The seals on the coffin shattered, revealing the lifeless form of Osiris, the king, the husband, the deity. Her tears fell like liquid diamonds upon his still face, each droplet a testament to her devotion and unyielding determination. However, the reunion was short-lived. for Isis knew they were far from the safety of their homeland. With Seth's spies slithering through shadows, the journey back to Egypt was fraught with danger and deceit. Wrapping Osiris's body with cloths steeped in protective enchantments, she concealed the sarcophagus within a golden boat, a gift from the sea god who favored her quest. As they sailed towards Egypt's horizon, Isis couldn't shake the foreboding clawing at the edges of her heart. Seth's treachery knew no bounds, and the road to resurrection was paved with uncertainties. She clung to the prophecy whispered by the stars, the promise of Osiris's return to rule the underworld, a kingdom where no shadow of Seth could reach. With the dawning of each day amidst storms and serenity, Isis fortified her spirit with the love that had survived even the embrace of death. She would need every ounce of this strength for the trials that lay ahead, in a war that would transcend realms where gods meddle and the boundaries between life and death blur. And so, the boat glided over the waters, carrying within it a grief-stricken yet resolute heart, and the silent pledge of a goddess. A pledge to restore life where there was none, to ignite a flame in the abyss of darkness. For the journey was more than a trek across lands. It was a revolt against destiny itself, challenging the very principles of the mortal and divine realms. The shores of Egypt welcomed Isis like a mother embracing her children. But this was no time for tearful reunions. The sands under her feet shifted with whispers of Seth's spies, and every shadow seemed a threat. With Osiris's sarcophagus, she journeyed to the sanctity of the marshes, where nature itself conspired to shield her from prying eyes. There, in the solitude afforded by whispering reeds and murmuring waters, the great goddess began her work. It was a ritual no mortal eyes had witnessed, and no ears had heard. The air throbbed with power as Isis, surrounded by a halo of ancient magic, pieced together her beloved's shattered body, her hands sure, her incantations flawless. But magic, even of this magnitude, had its limits. Osiris could never truly return to the land of the living. He would straddle the worlds, one foot in the realm of shadows, the other in the land bathed by the sun. He would be the Lord of the dead, reigning over the silent halls with justice and wisdom, a king crowned in the stillness of the afterlife. It was in these sorrow-drenched moments that the true test of the goddess's resolve came to bear. A son, she realized, would be the torchbearer of their legacy, the rightful heir to the throne, a beacon of hope for their people. From the union of her magic and the remnants of Osiris's living essence, she crafted a future, a child, Horus, falcon-headed and fierce, born of grief, raised in hiding, destined for greatness. As the moon waxed and waned, Isis nurtured her son with tales of valor, lessons of justice, and the love that she harbored for her fallen consort. All the while, she fortified her own heart for the storm that brewed on the horizon. Seth's rule, born of deceit and maintained by fear, cast a growing shadow across the land, and it was a darkness that she intended to challenge. Horus grew under his mother's watchful eyes, strength burgeoning in his limbs, a fire kindling in his spirit. The boy's first faltering steps swelled into the confident strides of a prince who bore the weight of his destiny with an unwavering resolve. His eyes, reflecting the skies he would one day master, were set firmly on the throne that was his by right. In the quiet moments of twilight, when mother and son sat by the flickering fireside, Isis would tell him of his father, his kindness, his justice, and the tragedy that befell him. "Your father lives in a realm beyond our reach, my son," she would say, her voice a melodic whisper amidst the night sounds. "But within these stories and the legacy he has left and in the blood that courses through your veins, he is as alive as you and me." With each passing day, the tides of change were swelling. Rumors spread like wildfire among the people. Whispers of the rightful heir, hidden but alive, who would soon claim what was stolen. They spoke of a mother's love that defied the gods, of silent rebellions nurtured in the heart of the marshes, of justice that awaited its day. As the sun crowned the horizon with gold, the whispers of rebellion turned into cries for action. The people, who had for so long been under the suffocating darkness of Seth's reign, now saw a glimmer of light, and that light was Horus. Like a tempest, he emerged from the marshlands, the place of his refuge and his nurturing. No longer was he the child hidden in the reeds, but a warrior who bore both the wisdom of his father and the relentless spirit of his mother. Isis stood beside him, her eyes reflecting the dawn of a new era, one she had fought and sacrificed so much for. The land itself seemed to rise with Horus as he marched towards his destiny. This was no stealthy rebellion. It was a roaring wave of justice that sought to reclaim what was rightfully his. The people rallied behind him, their hopes fueling his strength, their faith sheathing him in armor no metal could replicate. Seth, hearing the echoes of revolt, fortified his defenses, rallying armies of those still swayed by fear or blind loyalty. The usurper king's desperation was as potent as his wrath, knowing his deceitful climb to power faced a threat like no other. A son born of divinity and determination. The clash between Horus and Seth was more than a battle. It was a cataclysm, a meeting of forces so fierce that the ground quaked and the skies wept. They fought not as men but as titans, their blows reshaping the very landscape around them. This was a war that transcended the physical, delving into the realms of the mystical, each strike a contest of wills as much as strength. In the end, it was neither strength nor fury that decided the outcome. It was justice long denied and truth long suppressed that emerged victorious. With a blow that resonated through the heavens and the earth, Horus struck down Seth, reclaiming the throne stolen in treachery. The victory was not without sorrow, for the battle had scarred the land and seared its mark into the hearts of its people. Yet, it was a necessary catharsis, purging the realm of the poison that had weakened its bones. Horus ascended to the throne not with jubilation but with a quiet resolve, the likes of which had steadied his blade amidst the battle's fury. His reign promised healing and truth, a guiding light born of the darkest times. Isis, her task fulfilled, her trials weathered, looked upon her son, her heart swelling with a mixture of pride and an indescribable sorrow that only those who have loved and lost can understand. She had ignited the flame of rebellion, but it was Horus and the people who rallied behind him who fanned it into a blazing inferno of change. The goddess's eyes then turned to the stars, those silent witnesses in the velvety sky, and she whispered a prayer, not for her but for Osiris. "Behold," she seemed to say, "the legacy you have fathered, the dream we dreamt together, alive and pulsating with life. Behold your son, a king of the living, while you rule over the dead." The land embarked on a path of healing under Horus's just rule, the scars of the past slowly fading into the annals of history. And though Osiris could never again walk the realm of the living, his presence lingered, a silent guardian watching over the kingdom that once was his, now thriving under the vigilant eyes of his son. So ended an era of strife, giving birth to a time of restoration and peace, all born from the love and tenacity of a goddess, the righteousness of a fallen king, and the courage of a son who reclaimed his father's legacy. In the quiet after the storm, amidst the songs of renewal, one could almost hear a whisper in the wind, a soft sigh of contentment from a king in the realm of shadows, his heart finally at rest.